America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Let's go to Karl Rove.
Yep, former senior advisor to President George W. Bush. Karl, let's get to, first of all, this freezing that we have seen with President Biden, and you saw Obama leading him off the stage. This has happened a number of times. The White House is now saying it's deep fake, but age is definitely, and I shouldn't even say age, it's mental acuity, it's physical fitness and mental fitness, clearly in this case. That's on the ballot. It's interesting because you could see Jill Biden in the last few days has been saying it's not age, it's character. Your thoughts of how much this is going to come to play, and also with the debate right around the corner, that's going to be a biggie, Karl.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Second of all, does anybody really believe that Pete King has lots of friends in New Jersey? I mean, it's hard enough to have friends in New York, for God's sake. I mean, please.
I'm glad you corrected that.
Karl,
Thank you, Karl.
You got me there. I plead guilty. But I may have more friends than you, though.
No. That's right. No, that's not true. But let me just say, Pete, I have two friends in Texas. One is a former president, and one in me. But sometimes I'm not certain about him being there. I mean, really, just so.
Well, tell the president I said hello, please. Great person.
I will,
great man.
I will. So, look. Jill Biden can say all that she wants about how this is all about character. We see the president, we've seen him for 3 years get worse and worse. And this is not going to go away. Take a look at these polls. Who's more effective? Who's stronger? Who's got, who's more on top of the job? Who's got more up to it? Every one of these polls comes back 2-1 for Trump or better on the issue of who's better on these physical dimensions. It was Bill Clinton who said strong and wrong beats weak and right. Well, he was a little bit tainted, but he's right. People want their president to be strong. They may not agree with him on everything, but they want their president to be a strong and effective leader. And Biden is being followed by these concerns because they're real. And look, I don't know if Barack Obama had to put his hand on his back in order to guide him off, but we all look at it, and that's what we think might have happened. And whether it's fair or unfair, the times that we have seen the president, scramble his words and demonstrate weakness and fall down on the steps and so forth, right or wrong, we've come to the conclusion that he's not up physically to the job. And with that is the mental acuity that this job requires.
So how big is the debate going to be? Because I just saw, by the way, it just came out that the new rules are there will be podiums. They'll have uniform podiums. When John and I were talking with President Trump, he was being told that they would have to sit at a desk. And he didn't want that. So obviously, luckily he won. I think if you're going to be president of the United States, you should be able to stand at a podium, especially given some of these questions we're talking about here. What are your thoughts? And also, they're planning on muting the mics so they can't talk over each other. How is that going to help and hurt both of the different candidates?
Probably help.
Well,
Trump.
frankly, it's going to the muting the mics is going to help President Trump, whether he knows it or not. Because in 2020, in that first debate, when he started screaming and yelling and interrupting, he hurt himself. He kept a perfect record for incumbent presidents. Every incumbent president in our lifetime has lost the first debate. I was there. I was there in 2004, and President Bush lost the first debate. In 2012, Barack Obama lost the first debate. And Donald Trump, this was insisted upon, as I understand it, by the Biden campaign. But ironically, the guy who's going to benefit from him, if he recognizes that it's in his advantage, don't interrupt. Let Biden speak. Let him scramble his sentences. Let him make his arguments and respond accordingly. Don't interrupt him. Don't look like a bully. Don't look like you're out of control. Don't look like you've lost it. Let him have his moment and then respond.
Judge Weinberg.
Karl, good to talk to you again.
I'm very troubled by the border situation, but I'm even more troubled by the fact that Biden administration seems to be doubling down on that. And all the polls show that across the board, whether you're talking about Democrats, Republicans, independents, different ethnic groups, all say that this open border crisis is a real negative for Biden. What's going on here?
Well, again, we're seeing the reality of it. We've been feeling this in Texas, but think about it. You in New York City, you've received a fraction of the people who come across every month or two in Texas. And think about how New Yorkers have gotten wired up about the impact it's having on social services and your city budget and the quality of life and crime in your city. Well, think about it down here in Texas. We've been undergoing this for the last 4 years. You know, the city of Chicago, I think, has had something like 18,000 people have been bused or flown from Texas and Arizona to Chicago in like 18 months. And you know, people who you don't get to Chicago or from Texas unless you want to go to Chicago. You got friends or family there, and that's where you want to go, and you volunteer to go there. Well, look, they're two little communities. Chicago is a big town, 2.5 million people, 5 million people in the metro area. There are two little towns down the Texas border that are a part of what's called the Del Rio sector of the border. They are Del Rio and Eagle Pass. And they get 18,000 people every week or two. And you can imagine what is happening to these two communities that have 70,000 population, to their social services, to their quality of life, to this public safety. The little local hospital down there has 101 beds, and it puts out $100,000 a month in uncompensated care because the feds find somebody who's sick, who's come across the border, and they dump them on the front steps of the hospital, and they have to make them well, bring them back to health. But the federal government ain't reimbursing it. So, but now it's Chicago, Denver, New York, Washington, Detroit. All of these communities are figuring out what it's like to be on the front line of the border, because we now have every major American community as a border community like we have in Texas.
Hey, Carl, this is Pete King. I don't mean this is a softball question, but you've been there in the Oval Office. You've been there when life and death decisions had to be made by President George Bush. How vital is mental fitness? And I don't mean that as a softball question. I think the people should hear that, how vital it is.
Yeah. Well, look, think about this, Pete. You know this. He was your friend. You saw him enter that office at the age of 54, and you saw him age. That happens with every president. Take a look at Barack Obama in January of 2009 taking the oath of office, and then look at pictures of him 8 years later leaving. This is a tough job. There's a reason why we elect men in their 40s and 50s to be president of the United States, because it is a tough job. And the idea that a 81-year-old who would be 82 by the time of the inaugural, who's already showing signs of decline. I mean, we all age at a different rate. He's aged a lot in the last couple of years, and he wasn't great to begin with. And now we're seeing what's happening. This is a problem because our next president, whoever it is, whichever of these two men holds that job, is going to have enormous challenges. And we're going to have them at the top of their game, not faltering. And the American people on some level, regardless of whether they're left or right, Republican, Democrat, vegetarian, green, libertarian, they understand that we need to have somebody who's up to that job.
Yeah, no question. Carl, thank you. We love having you on, my friend. Thanks so much for being here.
You bet. All the best.
This is Greg Kelly for Priority Gold. What does it mean to be America's precious metals dealer? It means that you're in touch with the hearts and minds of those who love this country, value our freedom, and want to protect the future. Priority Gold is that precious metals dealer. They've helped thousands of Americans back their retirement with solid gold and silver. Call Priority Gold at 888-506-6439. Receive free shipping, free storage, a free investment guide, and one of the best purchase experiences in the industry. Call now or go to PriorityGold.com.